Hi guys, welcome back to another tutorial. My name is Toke. If this is the first time you are watching any of my video, you are very welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, you are also welcome. So today I'll be teaching you guys how I made this simple kimono jacket. It's a very simple and easy tutorial, so if it's something you are interested in, please keep on watching and let's get started. So for this design, I'll be using 2 yards of this Ankara fabric. So you can as well use 3 yards depending on how full or how long you want it to be. For me, this is just 2 yards of fabric. So now I'm going to be flipping it over to the wrong side to draft my pattern. As you can see, that is the right side. So now I'll be flipping it over to the wrong side. So to make this design, I'll be drafting the back pattern first, and my material is folded into 2. So now I'll be marking 0.75 at the top of my fabric. So this will serve as a guideline for my shoulder slope. So I'll advise you maybe mark about 1 inch or about 0.75 at the top of your fabric. So as you can see, my material is folded into 2. So now I'll just go ahead and connect that 0.75 that I marked. So next I'll be taking my neck width and I'll be using 3 inches for that. So right now I'll be measuring my sleeve, and because this is a kimono jacket, I'm just going to start directly from that point I marked for my neck width. So now I'm going to place it from the 3 inches I marked. I'm going to go ahead and measure the length of my sleeve. So the full length of my sleeve will be about 17 inches, but right now I'll be marking 15 inches because I'm going to be adding about 2 inches of another black piece to the edge of the sleeve. So now I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So right now I'll just go ahead and use my ruler to connect from that 3 inches of my neck width to the 1 inch for my shoulder slope, so you can see what it looks like. So now I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch from that 3 inches I marked. This would be my neck depth. So I will just go ahead and make a curve. That's the neck curve. I'll just make a curve slightly like so. So now I'm going to be measuring my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. So after marking that, I'll just go ahead and use my ruler to connect. So at this point, I'll be taking my bust circumference. So my bust circumference is 36. I'm going to be dividing that 36 by 4, and it will give me 9 inches. So I'll mark that 9 inches on my shoulder to bust point line. But because this is a kimono, I'm going to be adding about extra 4 inches to it. So depending on how big you want it to be, you can add 5 inches, you can add 6 inches. This is all dependent on you. So now I'll be marking my armhole, and I'll place my tape on that 1 inch I came down by for my shoulder slope. So I'm going to go ahead and place my tape there, and I'll be marking 10 inches for my armhole. So depending on how wide you want your armhole to be, you can maybe use 11 inches, 12 inches. This is all dependent on you. So now I'm just going to connect that shoulder slope to the armhole that I marked. So now I'll come to the bust circumference that I marked, and I'll come down by about 1 inch like so. So I'm going to connect the armhole to that 1 inch I came down by. So I'm just going to make a slight curve like so. So you can see how I'm doing it. I'm just going to make a slight curve. So now I'm going to use my ruler to draw a straight line all the way down to where I want the length of my kimono to get to. So I don't want it to be shapy, I don't want it to have any shape. That's why I'm just drawing a straight line. So I'm still going to go ahead and show you how to draft it if you want it to have some kind of shape, but for me, I'm just going to make it straight like this. So right now, if you want it to have some kind of shape, you're going to be measuring your shoulder to your waistline first. So for me, my shoulder to my waist is 16 inches, and that's what I'm marking. So I'll just go ahead and use my ruler to connect like so. So now I will be taking my hip line measurement, which is 9 inches. So I'm going to be placing it from my waistline to the hip line. So you can use either 8 or 9 inches. For me, I'm just going to use 9 inches and I'll go ahead and connect. So remember, I'm taking this measurement for those that want their kimono to have some kind of shape. So now I'm going to label this line as my waistline to avoid any confusion. Right now I'm going to be dividing my waist circumference by 4. My waist divided by 4 is 8 inches, and I'll be adding the extra 4 inches I added on my bust line. For ease, I'm going to be adding it on my waistline as well. So if you want to shape it, you just go ahead and shape it from the armhole all the way to this extra 4 inches I marked on my waistline. So I'm going to be doing the same thing for my hip line as well. So I'm going to be marking my hip circumference. My hip divided by 4 is 10 inches, and I'll add the extra 4 inches for the ease as well. So you are just going to go ahead and shape it like this. So I'm just going to make some tiny dots so you can see how it's done. So you go ahead and shape it like this, and you're going to use your hip curve to shape the hip as well. So this is how it's going to be if you want your kimono to have some kind of shape. So now I'm going to be adding half an inch on my shoulder slope for the allowance to join the front and the back together so it doesn't come out short. And for the dress, I'm not adding any extra allowance. I'm just going to be using half an inch to join it together. So now I'm just going to cut it out. You should just follow how I'm cutting it. And please remember, this is the back pattern. We're cutting the back first, so it's the back we're going to use to cut out the front pattern. So I'm going to be cutting out the front, and you can see my material is on fold. So I'm going to be placing my back pattern on the front pattern like so. So I'm just going to arrange it on top of it. So at this neck part, I'm just going to make a notch here like so before cutting out the remaining part. So I'm not cutting out the neck yet, so I just made a notch at that part. So now I'll just go ahead and cut out the remaining part exactly as it is on the back. So I'm not touching the neck at all. So once I'm done cutting, I'm going to remove the back pattern and place it aside. So now I'm going to be drafting the neck pattern for the front, and I'm going to be starting from that place that I notched. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to go ahead and mark about 8 inches like so. So now I'll use my curved ruler to connect my neck width to the 8 inches I marked for the neck depth. So just watch how I'm doing this. So now I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So because this is a kimono, I'm just going to go ahead and open up this part like so. So I'm just going to open the middle up. So at this neck part, I'm going to make a slight alteration like so. So I'm just going to go in with a slight curve. It's not going to have a sharp bend like it is when I first cut it. So I'm just going to make a slight curve like so, and I'll just use my scissors to cut it out. So just watch how I'm doing this. So you can see what it looks like now. So if I open it up and place both pieces together, this is what you're going to have. So now I'm going to be joining the pieces together, and the front part of my back piece is facing me, as you can see. So I'm going to place the front part of the front piece on the front part of the back piece, and I'm going to use my pin to pin it down like so. So I'm just going to pin the shoulder of the front and the back together. I'm going to pin them like so. Then I'll go ahead and take it in my sewing machine and run a stitch about half an inch on it. So I'm done joining it, and remember the black piece I mentioned earlier when we were drafting that I said I was going to add to the sleeve. I'm going to go ahead and measure whatever it is I have on my sleeve right now, so I can cut out the black piece with the length I have there. So here I have about 21 inches. So I'm going to fold the piece into two. You can see I already cut it out. So I'm going to fold it into two like so, and I'm going to be cutting out about 2.5 inches. You see it's already 2.5 inches, so the half an inch is going to be for the sewing allowance. So now I'm going to place it, I'll arrange it properly, and I'll place it on my sleeve like so, so you can see what it looks like. So I'll go ahead and use my pin to hold it down and take it to my sewing machine to attach it together. So I'll be doing the same thing for the other side of my sleeve as well. So I'm done joining, and this is what it looks like. I also went ahead to overlock it, so I'll just iron it down properly so it lays very well. So now I'll be joining both sides of my kimono jacket together, and I'll be using just about half an inch to join it. So I'll just make sure I use my pin to hold it down so I can join it properly. So I'm going to pin down the other side as well. So remember, the right side is facing the right side. We're going to be joining the wrong side. So I'll be using half an inch to join both sides together. So after joining, this is what it looks like. You can see our kimono is coming into shape. So I'm going to be adding the same black piece I added to the sleeve. I'm going to be adding it around the edge, all the way around to the neck of the kimono. So this is just like an extra piece to make it look beautiful. So you're going to start from the first edge. You're going to measure all around your neck parts to the other side of the edge. So you can see the first part I measured stopped at 60. So I'll continue from that part and continue measuring all the way down to the other side of the dress. So you can see what I'm doing. Just take your time while measuring. So you can see this is 42. So if I add 60 to 42, it will give me about 102. So I know that I'm measuring out 102. The length of the black piece I'm measuring will be about 102. So I already cut out the black piece I'll be using, and the wideness of it is about 2.5 inches. So the half an inch extra would be for the sewing allowance. So you can see what it looks like. So now I'll take my black piece and I'll place it at the first edge like so. So I'm going to use a pin to hold it together. So I'll be using half an inch to join the black piece to the kimono all the way to the other side, and you can see what it looks like. So you can see how neat and beautiful it looks. So the last thing I'm going to do is to sew the hem of the kimono, and I'll just fold it into two like so, and I'll run a stitch all the way to the other side. So after doing that, I went ahead to iron it, and you can see how beautiful and neat it looks. And we've come to the end of today's tutorial. Please, if you enjoyed the content and you've not subscribed to my channel, please don't forget to do so. You can also turn on your notification to receive more videos like this from me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.